here frequently, you know that the Hot Zone is a talk show where we feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions.
Sweet land of liberty. You want
Stick on the issue, I beg you, please. Let's stick on the issue.
Fuel our politics. Politicians deliver to their
The big government is not a solution to the problem.
Let me say this. I hear somebody saying, well, the country don't get money. Look, every country in this world that God has created on this earth has money. It depends on how the leader is innovative.
Not good judgment. Okay, to be commingling, to be meandering with a man who has recently been found guilty of committing a serious crime, right? You can appreciate him all you want, but it sends the wrong message. That
You can also Joseph, brother, please let me talk. Let me talk.
We do not have strong drug laws on our books.
If I gave you my district, what you want to? You want my
Motherfuckers will come and tell you to vote for one person when the person get it and they tell you say the person not good. All of them confused.
Yeah, I'm getting younger because we are in power now. And when you're in power, it comes with certain grades.
They come me with their fake smile. All I think and I so fly. They won't use you, confuse you, and mislead you. They will promise when you vote them, they frustrate you. They already say you so go. Don't for your friend, let them move. They already say you rebel. Don't for your friends for their choice. Oh. They already say you so go. Don't for your friend, let them move.
Tonight, I'm playing host. My name is Derek Yale, and let me check in with my co-host, Mr. David Tagbert. Mr. Tagbert, welcome to another episode.
So Derek, thank you. It's always good to be on the Hot Zone.
Brother, vote for your future. Mama, vote for your future. What do you want to? If I gave you my future, what you want to?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for joining us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. If this is the first time joining us, again, welcome. The Liberia Radio and Television Network is a local media institution here in Tacony, Philadelphia. We also have our office in Northeast Philadelphia. We have our office open for operation in Liberia as well. So make sure you check us out on Facebook. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or LRTN Live for short. And also you can subscribe, follow our YouTube page, same name, and also we are on Instagram as well. Again, LRTN is proud to present another episode of the Hot Zone. If this is your first time being here, the Hot Zone is an opinion-based talk show where we feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions. And here on the Hot Zone, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. My name is Derek Yale. I will be playing host tonight on this episode, and so look out for another interesting episode of the Hot Zone. Just to give you a breakdown of what to expect tonight, we have our current event. As always, we will have our special guest tonight, and then we will have the CEO of the Suku Experts to talk to her briefly about that business. And then we will introduce our panelists for this episode. So stay with us while you're here again. Let me ask all of you watching us, please, to make sure you're sharing this program on your individual social media pages, and also make sure you're following us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So again, just to give you a breakdown of what to expect tonight, we have our current event, and to bring you that right now. As you know, we are just few weeks away, or a couple of days away from the U.S. Presidential elections. And just this week, we have a development that Vice President Kamala Harris has accepted the rules for the next debate against former President Donald Trump. So that is scheduled to happen next week, September 10th, where former Vice President Kamala Harris will face off against former President Donald Trump for the very first time in these presidential elections. So that's one of the development we have for you in the diaspora, and we have a very unfortunate development to bring to you from Ugandan Olympic runner Rebecca Chetige dies after allegedly being set on fire by her boyfriend. So to get more on that development, make sure you visit Al Jazeera page, and you will get more on that unfortunate development. With that being said, and before we bring on our guests, again, let me encourage all of you watching us to please make sure you're sharing this program, and also make sure you're following us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. This is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Galley. I'm playing host tonight. Let me, at this point in time, welcome our guest, the CEO from Suku Express, so we can talk very briefly, and then our panelists for this episode. Good evening, Mrs. Grace Slober Farmboy, and correct me, is it Mistress or Miss Grace?
Mistress, how are you?
Mistress. I'm good. How are
Thanks
you?
for.
And welcome.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
It,
promoting me always.
it is a pleasure. And guys, as you heard from Mistress Farmboy, we usually run the commercial to Suku Express. So if you haven't been able to check out this establishment, make sure you do. But let's talk to the CEO herself. So briefly talk to us about Suku Express. What is it that you do? Your contact information.
Um,
Let's just start the conversation that way.
okay. Okay. Suku Express. We are in the Philadelphia area. We do shipment to Liberia. We started '05. Thank God we are still here. Ship barrel boxes, everything besides human being, drugs, and ammunition. Try to help the people back home. And I want to say thank you to all Liberians that haven't given up on Liberia. They still send things to their family, special Christmas coming up. It's a busy, busy time. So we are just grateful to do what we are doing for the Liberian people.
Thank you. I know you mentioned you started since 2004 or 2005
2005.
and 2005. What and you say you're into helping people send things to their families in Liberia. In addition to that, what has really kept you going with this type of business that you do? I know traffic has increased over the years and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. One of the main things that keep me going and makes me happy to see people that are not from Liberia that haven't been there at all. Like churches,
Hmm.
ordinary people. They will pack us stuff and send it to people they haven't seen before, especially for schools, for churches. So I'm like, if somebody haven't been to Liberia and they are willing to help, then we should step it up. Yeah. And the
Okay.
older people too, they don't pay the right money, but they like when you're sleeping, you should sleep. We always pray for you. They will tell me thank you. They will appreciate me. I mean, we are human beings. No one is perfect. We do have our mistakes. People stuff messing up and what have you. But 85, 90% of the time we deliver what we are doing. We deliver good.
Yes, and you mentioned you said something about the price. I know some people
Oh
think
yeah.
that to send things to Liberia costs like cow price and stuff like that. So can you give us a breakdown of how you
Yeah.
charge people to
Yeah,
send things to
lately when
Liberia?
people won't complain, I tell them you people should be grateful to God that Ebola, coronavirus, plane has never stopped going to Liberia. Ships had never stopped going. They will delay, but they will still go. And everything now is like times two. The Delta 100 pound we used to buy $30. Now is $60. Barrel used to be 150, so it gone to $200. So I don't know why people panicking. So for me, the 77 gallon, the jumbo barrel, we call it the jumbo, is $200. But for older people, like senior citizen, and then when you drop it off to me, I'll do 180. When you're doing like 10 barrels, we give the discount. When you send it for NGO, even though the government don't give or no, but we try to work along with such people like that. And I like the barrels than the boxes. Like people like the boxes, the fee is cheaper. But boxes, it can bust anytime your stuff can damage. So I tell people put your valuable stuff in the plastic container, in the plastic barrel. If you're doing boxes, it should be useful use shoes. And then you gotta saran wrap the whole thing. Now it's rainy season in Liberia. You don't just send the box any kind of way. And then they got canned food going on. You don't put canned food in a carton. It's gonna mess up, everything gonna waste before you get there. So you're spending your money pack your stuff the right way.
Yes, and also talking about, let's talk about the timing. Before I ask you our next
Oh,
question, let me let me
yeah.
let me let me recognize Mr. Randy. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. We have Mistress Grace Global Fanboy talking about Suku Express. So if at any point in time you have a question or comment to make on that, just you can interrupt me and do just that. Mistress Fanboy, coming back to you.
Yeah.
What about the time? How long does it take? What is the longest time it takes to get a shipment to Liberia? What is the shortest possible time it takes to get shipment to Liberia?
Normal days, normal time. March line, 21 to 25 days. Right now, it's like 2 months. So as I was saying, I used to tell my customers, send your Christmas stuff in Ottawa. I put it by 1 week and 1 month. So if you're going for Christmas, you want all your goodies, all your stuff, send it in September. It's better to arrive 1 month, 2 weeks before you get there than you get there, it is not there. Things happen. They continue now, they put it down in Abidjan. Before from here it goes to Spain, from Spain to Morocco. From Morocco it's supposed to go to Liberia. Right now they put it down in Abidjan. You're gonna stay there 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If you're unfortunate, they forget about your container, sometimes whole month. So now I tell people 2 to 2 months and a half if we ship for you to get to Monrovia. And then when it gets to the port, we got only 5 days to clear. Before it was like 15, it dropped to 10. Now it's 5 days. And out of the 5 days, you got Saturday and Sunday, Liberian port don't work. So technically, it's only 3 days. You have to clear a container. After that, the storage starts to get on it. That's why people abandon the container. If you don't get it out soon, the storage going to be more than the duty that you're paying.
Thank you. And now that you mentioned the post, I was actually going to ask you that next. Are there any challenges? I know you mentioned it less from 15 days to 5 days. Are there any challenges that you experience getting stuff at the port in Liberia or even here? Are there any challenges that you have or just shipping things to Liberia?
It's a lot though. For here, it's straightforward. For me, when I get a container from here, I know I'm going to pay. The total going to be there 5,000, 6,000. But when it gets to Liberia, it's a different ballgame. Depending on the cars you got in there, you could pay between 6 to 7, 8, 9, $10,000 to get one container out. And then, so now the system is down. The computer down, nothing going on. And then all the machine that's supposed to lift the container and put it on the truck, the machine is down. You're gonna be there 2-3 days, and it's on you, the shipper. You understand?
Mhm.
Okay. And then you do all the running around, all the bureaucracy, blah blah blah. When the container coming up, you got escort behind it. It just Liberian Port, I think they need to do better. We are praying, we are hoping it's gonna get better. That's
Yeah.
how I have to feel.
Speaking of that though, I mean, you've been doing this for since 2004. So you've seen, like you said, the good, the bad, the ugly. Now, based on those challenges, what are some things that you think the National Port Authority needs to put in place for things to improve? Like you said, you can have a very straightforward process when you're getting it out of the U.S. to Liberia. What are some things you think needs to be done in Liberia for things to at least be easy on you guys that are shipping?
Okay, for instance, simple. You know the container is coming to Liberia, especially when it's in Africans. Release the documents at least a week ahead of time. So we start to do, all the running around and stuff like that, the payment. So once you pay on the container, it gets there, you get it out the same day if you got a good broker. Thank God to my broker, Perry. He will get it out the same day. That means you get the paperwork ahead of time. But they say the ship they gotta be looking at the ship on the water, looking at the port before they put it in the as a cooler or working a cooler and stuff like that. So simple. When in Abidjan, say coming to Monrovia. So just give the paper a week ahead of time instead of 2-3 days to put a bid or in the system. You understand? That one of the
Mhm.
biggest thing that what keeps it on, and then if the ship comes and the paperwork comes up, the paperwork is not up, and then the system is down. They got Beaver, they changed to Medtech or some kind of tech. It's just flip flopping everywhere. Everybody confused right now. Seriously speaking, yeah,
That's unfortunate. Now,
yeah.
you also mentioned that the price range from six
Oh yeah,
thousand up to like
yeah,
9,000. Why
yeah.
is it not stable?
Because for instance, if the car is 15 years and above, you got
Mm.
penalty on the car for carrying an old car in the country, right? So, typical example, Toyota Camry. I sent an 05 Toyota Camry, and the person paid like 3,200. They had extra like 900 on it for penalty because the car was more than 15 years. So you gotta be careful now. I tell the people if you want to send a car, you gotta do 12, 13, 2011, 2012. It'll be a little bit better than to send a 05, 04 car. And then if you send a new car, they say send a new car, but you gotta be careful too. If the mileage is below 40,000, they put luxury taxes on it. So I sent a Pilot 2018 Honda Pilot for a pastor. And I told him, I said, oh, it's gonna be maybe 2,000 to clear. When he got there, he had to pay $5,200 because the mileage was 39 or 38,000. So they put luxury taxes on it. He paid me $22 to ship it. And he paid the Liberian government $5,200 to clear. Way back, I sent a Lexus Jeep for this guy. He came from Liberia and he bought his Jeep. It was a salvage car. He fixed it. $2,000 to ship it. When he got to the port, at that time, it was Freedom Time of days. $5,000 to clear. Time for it to come out, they will take the document, they go reassess it, they put another $5,000. He paid $10,000 to the Liberian government to clear that Lexus Jeep. So people gotta be careful.
Yeah, I know. We just had a change in administration, and I'm pretty sure what you're talking about happened in the previous administration. Had there been any tweaking to the system or improvement in the system at the port to kind of like improve the challenges?
For me, I haven't seen it to be true.
Okay.
Yeah, first thing I do only one car per container, so I ain't got too much car drama and stuff like that. But I tell people we gotta wait and just trust the system, trust the process. It's gonna take a while. Now you put Jesus, you take Jesus from all before in the chair, in like bro, probably will still be there. So
Well, Mr. Fanboy, let's play your ad one more time.
Thank you for playing it always.
And then we'll take your final comments and we'll bet you going goodbye on the show. But let's play the commercial first.
Thank you.
Introducing Suku Express, shipping from the USA to Liberia, offering pickup services from Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and New York. Suku Express is very reliable, efficient, trustworthy, and seamless. U.S. warehouse and loading dock is at 54101 Tacony Street, Philadelphia, PA 19137. Contact 267-987-6821 or 267-437-6463. Then in Liberia, at Dry Rice Market, Bannersville Road. Contact 0775-245-666 or 0555-594-53.
Hey. This is Grace, the CEO of the founder Suku Express. Parcel your stuff good, valuable stuff goes in the plastic barrel. You gotta shrink wrap, you lock the barrel, you gotta shrink wrap the barrel, protect your stuff. Boxes, useful, use shoes. Any box taller than me, I can't ship it.
With Suku Express, your worries are over. Ship with confidence and ease. Thanks for doing businesses with Suku Express.
There it is, guys. If you're watching us, this is the CEO of Suku Express, Mrs. Grace Slowboy Fanboy. Again, let me give you the opportunity now to give us your parting words. It was a pleasure having you here. So just talk to our people and talk to your people as well.
Thank you for always doing my promotion. I know Joe been behind me. It took him almost 3-4 years for me to, and for my own good. He said, "You need to go. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for promoting people like us. Thank you to Suku Express customers. It been rocky, it been rough, it been tough. Let me tell you now, I have a container day in March and I went to Liberia and then it got to Freetown, the ship broke down and they towed the whole ship back to Spain and then they say $11,000 for me to get the container to release it from Spain. So it been tough and that's how it been, that's how it is. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But there's the guy, the late Anthony Boutini, I think he used to be on CNN, he says somebody has to do the job. Everybody got a calling. Everybody cannot be on the pulpit.
Right.
And anything God call you for, He gives you the passion. He gives you the strength. Sometimes I wake up, I don't know how I do it. I don't know how I manage. I work. I got biological kids. I got foster kids. I got adopted kids. I got husband. And I still do this work. Myself, for 1 week, I've been driving U-Haul all over the place just to pick up people's stuff. I do the driving myself, and then I got my boys. Thank you to my boys, the team here. Thank you to those in Liberia for helping. Liberian people, we came, for me, I'm a village woman. My dad, we from River G, but I Lofian, lady from Lofa Rebin. So somebody helped me down the line, and God brought us here for a reason. We are the Josephs of our family, for the family. So you can't say, oh, the Liberian people ain't serious, this, blah, blah, blah. I can't say nothing. No, we are here. You can do anything you want to do. I tell people they got crooks and they got people that are sincere, but out of 4 or 5, they still have good people. They still have sincere people in Liberia. And we have to help the people that were left back home. It don't even have to be your family. It can be anybody. That's how life is. If you got it and you're sitting on it, only you and you alone benefiting, that's not what it is meant for. So we can't give up on Liberia. Liberia is our country. I hear people shipping Guinea, shipping Ivory Coast. Me, as for me and myself, strictly to Monrovia, Freeport, rain, shine, or snow. So thank you for having me. Pack your stuff right. We are shipping to Liberia, Freeport, nowhere else. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Grace Slowboy, Miss Grace Slowboy, fine boy. Thank you for joining us here tonight to talk about Suku Express. Guys, that's it for our conversation with the CEO of Suku Express. And now we have our panelists on the screen. Where we are going to take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will get into our discussion for tonight. But let's take a break first, and when we come back, we'll get into that.
I can see all the good God do for me, oh. Papa, your blessing to plant me and I get
celebration, celebration, celebration. I mean celebration. Here come the biggest news you have been waiting for. The Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas, ULAA, is pleased to announce her 50th anniversary and inauguration. Our guest speaker is Honorable J. Fonanti Kofa, Speaker of the House of Representatives, 55th Legislature, Republic of Liberia, hosted by the National Administration, ULA, National Executive President of ULA, Mohammed MSG1 Keita, National Vice President, Emmanuel Nangwe, Chairman of the Board, Honorable Dao Kamara, First Vice President of the Board, Honorable James Barkley, members of the Eminent Council of Yola, member of the Founding Father of Yola, Dr. Sion Kwon J.K. Nyenswao Sr. Our chief launchers are Dr. Thomas Tue and Honorable Alfred Sier, chief launcher of ULAA. Yola, this all-important celebration will be held in Atlantic City, New Jersey. This event takes place from September 27 to September 29. Take note, September 27 to September 29, 2024. Tickets are on sale. Patron tickets, $200 USD, and regular tickets, $130 USD. Ways out in getting your tickets. Get your tickets on Cash App at 781-248-1836. Listing 781-248-1836. Or on Zilly, OURULAA at ULAALIBORG, or in small letters, OURULAA at ULAALIBORG. You can also get your tickets online at ulaa50.eventbrite.com. ulaa50eventbrite.com. Come one, come all, come and join us to celebrate with Liberians in the diaspora. Rush now, cause space is limited. I see you there.
Hi, my name is Martha Tombe, owner of Matisia Natural Hair Salon, located on 4405 Chestnut Street. We are specializing in locks, natural hair, braids, and etc. Call us for all your natural hair needs. You can reach out at 267-703-2330. If you have pictures or videos you want to send us, you can send it to 267-224-0693.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us. This is the Hard Zone episode 8 of season 6. And I have my panelists here with me, Mr. Jay Randy and Mr. Jad Winkin Weah. And tonight, I intend for us to do an open table conversation and where you will talk about issues that caught your attention in Liberia politics or somewhere in the diaspora, and we will have a conversation about that. Before we even get into that, we have a special announcement with issues happening in this network, starting with Mr. Morley Massaquoi, one of our staff or producer here at LRTN, had his traditional wedding sometime last week, and he's planning to have the actual wedding sometimes later. So those are pictures of Mr. Molly Massaquoi. So from this network, we'd like to say a massive congratulations, Mr. Massaquoi, on your union, and we wish you God's favor and blessings, and we wish you a lot of happiness in your marriage. Moving on, we have the chief administrator of this network, Mistress Garfin George Nawa. She got married sometime last week. And so, as you can see in the video, for myself, the network, the CEO would like to say massive, massive congratulations to you, Garfin, on your wedding. It's such a beautiful, beautiful video over there. Whoever shot that video, kudos to them. But again, congratulations to you, Garfin, from this network, the Hard Zone, the producer, and everyone else. It's a massive congratulations to you and your husband. With that being said, let me go over to our panelist, Mr. Jai Winkin Weah. Welcome to the show. And let me start with you, Mr. Weah. Welcome to another episode of the Hard Zone.
Thank you, Derek. And are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Brother Jed, welcome.
Mr. Randy, are you there? Oh, I think. Yeah, I think he's gonna be joining us much later on. But guys, if you're watching us, this is the Horizon episode 8, season 6. We're expecting more panelists to join us later on. But for now, because time is fast approaching, so we will just briefly talk about Mr. Weir. There is this article that that's on Al Jazeera. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
And now I'll talk about it briefly. It says corruption pushing African youth to immigrate. And so they do a poll where it says over 60% of African youth are seeking opportunity elsewhere because of corruption in their respective nations. So I thought that was very interesting. That if that's something you would like to opine on, we can have a conversation very briefly around that. But if there's something else that caught your attention,
Basically, that is very interesting. And I have been saying that, at times when we're talking about the other day, we're talking about who is more Liberian than the other, or being Liberian, or being for a certain country. Um, it's like it's like for example, we are all yet Africans. We meet in America as brothers, but when we cross back to Africa, it's a different ball game. Many of us that left Liberia, it's not by choice specifically. It's the people venturing for opportunity to help out, because the corruption in Africa, it is not limited to a single nation. People in Africa, government in Africa specifically, they don't care for the citizens of the country. As I said before, they behave like seeming gods. When you get in power, you think you are seeming God. You think if you did anything, you are doing it maybe you are helping out as a help rather than an obligation. Being in Africa, being in power in Africa is a ticket for corruption. You grab whatever you want. Nobody is answerable to you. You are calling worship with name, and this is why I don't use the word honorable specifically, because the action of our people in power doesn't represent honorable behavior at all. So I don't use that title. I call you, if you are minister, I call you minister. If you senator, I call you senator. Magistrate, I call you magistrate. Representative, I call you. So what I'm saying, sure, that article is very true about corruption in Africa. There we think about it this way. Right now, if you make Jamaica, we are represented. The next time, I'll be 3 houses, 4 houses. The houses, since I've been in America, I've done building in Liberia. I will begin to build them. I will engage in so many things, going about dishing our money, giving it to people as though I am having a farm or digging money somewhere. And that is corruption. There is no system in place in Africa for the children in Africa that requires them to do something as a means to get ahead, unless you know somebody in government. For example, let's use the Liberia as an example. Bouaka is in power. There are so many youth in the street. People calling you and me here to pay school fees, to do this for family. But there is nothing in the system to say, look, if any child did this, this is what you will get. We need 200 doctors, but we are providing this. But if you maintain this grade, this is what the government will do for you. We need engineers, we need people, we need this. So, but because of corruption, the government is not offering such. Right now, I got a nephew who is trying to join police or immigration or that kind of stuff, and they are asking for money, even though there's a government. People that even try to get job in government, they want money. So if you don't get money, you can be hired at the police, you can be hired as immigration, or you can be hired any part of the in any agency in government, or unless you know someone who is in power, and that is corruption. But here, you and myself know in America or in the West, you don't need to know anybody. They will even help you to acquire the skills if you don't have the skills. But that article is right. People wanting to leave Africa as a whole to look for better livelihood is not for anything specific to say they hate a country or they don't love their country. No, they do, but the country is not providing any means for improvement.
Yeah, and just to kind of add on again, I'm just like everyone else. We're against corruption, but is it really corruption that is stopping us from progressing as a nation? And I said this to say you said it very well, Mr. Weir. Today the average Liberian youth has absolutely no future except for either working in the public sector or leaving the country whatsoever. They would rather get and risk their lives to get on boats to go other country, and the survival rate is extremely low, but just to get out of Liberia, and that is the reality for most. And I'm not speaking on African. I'm just making it specifically to Liberia. That is the reality for most Liberian youth, and things don't seem to be improving. And I have uncles way older than me that haven't even had their first jobs. I know people that have been out of university, very bright, intelligent people that haven't had their first jobs. But my question is it really corruption that caused us to be in what we're in as a nation, as far as our youth not having any chance to succeed in life? Is it really corruption, or there are other factors? Is it, let's say, illiteracy? We have government officials that are really not corrupt, but don't know how to do the right thing, and weren't educated on how to do the right things. We have lawmakers that goes to work, take the pay that they give them, don't steal government money, but yet and still they don't actually know how to do what the Constitution requires them to do as per their job requirement. And you alluded to that when you say they treat their office as though it is like a foundation, as though it's like a charity institution where they give to their constituents as though they are now working for them. So is that I think is that an indication that it is not just corruption? Maybe somehow it is some form of illiteracy, that they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't know how to do what they're supposed to be doing. But this article, I thought it was very interesting because it brought us down on corruption being the benchmark for why African youth are seeking opportunity elsewhere.
Yes, Derek, is boiled down to corruption. For example, right now, if you get in power, if you want to be transparent, depending on only your salary, this and that, you don't do certain things. The first thing they will tell you is that, look, from Charlie King time, what John Brown didn't change, you alone can't change it. You are wasting your time. Just eat your own and go buy a business. That is the problem. People, it is the culture that getting government is a means to get rich or to get money. Even if you think about that, it is a situation that is very terrible, that trickle down to the population, to even younger folks. If you look at Liberia, a fuller man will start selling the widow market, shining shoes. In a few years, they will build a shop. But right now, if you were to give a brother or a friend $500 to start something. The next thing they will do, they will go in the club, engage in the summit, live that false lifestyle. So it's the kind of culture that is well, they're supposed to be at a certain level, something that you know that is not constant. So people that are in power today in government, they make good money. Most of them, they're not even thinking about business. I'm not saying that you steal money, but from their own money, you make up to $15,000 per month. You get gas slave, this, all the kind of stuff here. Nobody will invest. Our government official will not invest. So the only means they seek always is to get the power. But you see, the learning people, the foreigner that are in the country, they are investing. So they see corruption as a means of life, as a means of livelihood, as a means to be at the top. So as a result, they want to be looked up to. They don't want to empower the youth so that they will not be at their level. That is a bad behavior for us. It's a practice that we have in Liberia specifically. Well,
but the thing is,
say,
go ahead.
Somebody will say, well, we don't have the resources. Yes, we don't have the resources. But if you are transparent, I said this thing over and over, I will use Bwaga government. These challenges, they meant that bringing it in the situation, road, water, electricity, this and that. But up to now, they haven't told anybody how much it will require, for example, to make sure that let's say Monrovia alone, every house in Monrovia to get water supply. If you were to go into a deep to see how much it will cost the government to do this, and if you come up with that assessment, how much can the government afford out of that to make sure that there is a water to Monrovia, every household? Because you can even talk about investment without water and electricity. You can invest at the same time you provide water and electricity for your company. That is the role of government. So, but because of corruption, they will not tell you how much they are raising, how much they have. They're building houses. They will not tell you how did they get the money, but they will tell you that because other people did it before, so it is okay to do. When we was in power, I talked with a few guys that I knew, they will say, even though they're seeing the money, but they are developing the country. The same situation is going on. I told a few guys that are coming that they want job in this current government, but this is what they require. This is what they require. Send them $250, send them $300, send them $150 because they're seeking employment as a police officer, as an immigration officer. So the corruption is at every level. So that is the problem. But until we realize that we need a system instead of connection, it shouldn't be because I know Derek, but because I qualify. But there is something we need to fight for, including the young girls. If the guys something to fight for, if they are not required to sell their body for school fees, they will fight. They will learn. Even the little children, the little girls who in the villages that get them out to older folks because there is no school fees, because there is no means. The government that's supposed to provide the opportunity, it is not providing the opportunity. Somebody will say, help yourself. This, that. Somebody will confuse what JFK said. When JFK said, do for your country, and that quote they take it out of context. But when he said that, he provided the means, he provided something to fight for. What is it that the children in Liberia, girls, boys, we are in a situation where we need plumbers, electricians, all of these people. The government said, you know what, we want to make sure that we get a lot of electricians. We need 3,000 youth But here is the means. Children would leave to go and learn plumbing, electricity, so many things, skills. But where they sit, they will say the government does not have money. But Gary, between you and me, I always said this over and over. If government said this is what they're going to do, this is the number of children they are going to recruit. This is how much they will cost. This is what the government has. And that if that is transparent, if they put that in charge of a private entity, there you can afford to contribute $20 or $10 every month to that entity without anybody knowing it. Liberia will contribute and that will work. But the government needs to have the dream. It needs to have timeline. First of all, point out, project the project, give a timeline, how much it will cost. I know when you say it will be very, very difficult for the first time, but if they even start with a single district first, district by district, block by block, they attack one district based on what I just told you. We are going to make sure that there is a water to the district. But once you do that, if the people see that the first district is successful, second district is successful, even those who sell in market, they will contribute too. Even $5 Liberian, $10 Liberian, people will contribute, and that will help. You know, even here in America, it's the same. The government helping, but the people also raise money.
But my thing is this problem, the article made mention to, it's not just unique to Liberia.
It's the problem all the whole Africa.
It's all over Africa. Why do you think that a trend exists? Why is it African leaders or African countries corruption is preventing is causing the youth causing the youth to not or to seek up a greener pasture in other nations?
Yes, we if you look at the way.
You okay? Who did that? Sorry. Go tell mommy.
If you look at Africa,
go to mommy. I'm doing my work.
If you look at Africa as a whole, the people announce independent, but they are still occupying the structure of the colonial powers. They don't want to change. Sherry will agree with me. I don't know. Even if you disagree. The problem we have in Africa is that people are still occupying the colonial structure of governance. They don't want to change. So they don't want to make sure that things are decentralized resources, decentralized power. So everything should be around people who are there, people should worship them. Unless we decentralize resources and power, create accountability, check and balance it, we'll still have that problem in Africa. Welcome, Prince.
Thank you.
Derek is the daughter is giving her a time, so we are talking about article written by someone that the article talks about why African youth are leaving Africa to rich countries, and the article squarely blamed that on corruption in Africa. That's what we are discussing, and I do agree with that corruption is the reason why the whole of Africa is affected. I was talking with a friend who I work at the same place, the same thing. He's from Kenya. I mean, it's a problem. It's a guy who got 3 masters. He went home to do something, but they will not allow him because of the same corruption. Corruption is the problem in Africa as a whole, and the reason of that corruption is that because after we fought for independence from the so-called white people, then we occupy the structure of the white man. There is no change. The same thing the white people did to black people, they were doing to ourselves. That's the problem is the same. We are occupying the colonial structure still of government to suppress our own people. Until we change that, we'll have problem in Africa.
Go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir. Let me say I'm sorry because I'm staying somewhere, so I'm not at home where I will be comfortably seated in the studio. So please bear with me that I will be using this medium to count on. So to our audience, please, my people, you bear with me. But I think the topic is very important, and this require a very serious a conversation around the issue of why our young people are leaving Africa. I mean, potential people, some of the most potential group of people who could be the next innovator in Africa to change the dynamics that are leaving for the Western world. There are several factors that are responsible for that. Like you rightly said, sir, and I do agree with you, Mr. Weir, that indeed, corruption is one of the factor for which these young people, are leaving. The lack of opportunity, because all these things can be tied down to corruption. The lack of opportunity for young people, because everybody want to, make use of whatever little time they have on earth to better their lives. So you go where the opportunities are and you strive. And this is the reason why people they don't even mind jumping in the Mediterranean Sea in order for them to, go to areas that, they can find the opportunity. But I think one of the factor that we should also not ignore that is very important is that willful, or in other words, one would say that intentional behavior on the part of our colonial masters to continue to suppress us. I think it's one major factor. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm saying. You look at the issue of corruption, right? Most of the corrupt act that is practiced in Africa, let's look at the end result of all of this corruption, where the money goes. These money are kept in the same old colonial masters, you call banks. These people come abroad and they buy homes, and at the end of the day, they send their families, and etc., etc. And it is unfortunate to note that these very people who will tell us, or the colonial masters who will tell us that, oh, your country is corrupt, are the same old people that will be able to open avenues to these people and accept this corrupt money and open their doors and even welcome these people and give them accolade. So at the end of the day, why it is true that we as a people, are striving to make things better for ourselves, but even our so-called colonial masters are there also encouraging these people to do the worst. Because if our so-called colonial masters, they were taking the right approach, like take for an example, sometimes I see people, oh yeah, the other person gets sanctioned, oh, the other person gets sanctioned. But are these sanctions realistic, or are they just political sanctions that is meant to show how powerful they are? And at the end of the day, they leave the ordinary people in abject poverty. I think that is why it is meant, to just show their power. Because if you sanction these people, are you going beyond just the sanction? Are you checking their bank accounts? Are you checking what they have? Seizing the properties that they have acquired from those that they stole these resources from? Unfortunately, it is not happening. But they will use this money. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so unfortunately,
I'm going to judge that and ask you a question on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this money, that are kept in their bank or in their institutions, they are there. And at the end of the day, it just goes right back to them. When these leaders are no more, and nobody can account for the money, there is no way to take this money, then it remains with them for their own development. So the issue of corruption must be, fought vigorously and with the aid and the help of also our Western partners. We must demand that they help us. We must demand that they do what is appropriate in order to make Africa what it ought to be. But I do agree with, the area of corruption. But also that is another factor. They can also be considered as people who are aiding and abetting these criminals. Imagine, take for an example, let's look at from the day of Joseph Jingi Rabo up to now. There are some leaders, we believe, that have been taking our resources and have been investing it right here. Let's just take for an example, the United States of America. What are they doing to say, look, let's be able to conduct a serious investigation that will be able to uncover some of the ill-gotten wealth that was placed here, or that some of these people used to buy their property, so that we can be able to send it back to their people? Are they doing these things? No, they are not doing it. So they can also be considered as people who are aiding and abetting this corrupt act. You can come in, my brother.
Go ahead, Mr. Jawinkin.
So, brother, here is the problem. The American government. My problem is that in Africa, we fought against colonial powers to better the lives of our own people. But when we came to power, we occupied the same structure, the same system, suppressing our own people, taking our resources, and putting the money in the banks of these colonial power that we criticized before. You don't expect them to reject, because most of the banks are private companies, unless the countries in question complains about what is going on. So, for example, let's look at the Mana River Union, the 3 countries in the Mana River Union. We reached a lot of consensus. We signed a lot of agreements. We signed an agreement. But even for us to agree, we don't need it for us to agree to put resources together to say, you know why, in the Mana River Union, we want to make sure the 3 governments want to make sure to build rules network and more ourselves. They can do that. The construction of these rules is going to provide opportunity for more people to work. Liberia and Japan was on the same level when Truman was in power. Look at Japan. I know the West is suppressing, but when the West sees that you are trying, you are making improvement, you are developing, because at the end they want to, by the time you advance, they want to sell their weapons, they will still make money. But you should be willing first before they will help you. Like what happened in Ukraine right now. The Ukrainian people are not sitting down and demanding the Western world to go fight their war against Russia. They're fighting and calling for help at the same time. In Africa, we should be willing to do it first before the West will come to your aid, because you are a sovereign nation. That's why you call for independence as a government. So they can go and control another government. That is the problem. International law.
Thank you, Mr. Wuya. Let me ask Mr. Sheriff a question based on what you said. Now, you mentioned that the Western world used their power to impose sanctions, which you think does not do too much. But you're also saying that they should go further, that checking in the bank accounts of those that are put on sanction lists, and maybe have them, if it's possible, return those monies to their country. Now, wouldn't that be them infringing on the rights or on the sovereignty of other nations if they have to go outside of their power to do that? And before I wanted to direct this conversation on to bring it down specifically to Liberia, because and that was my question number 1 to you, Mr. Sheriff. And also, you talk about, which I agree with you, corruption needs to be fought vigorously. So we have a new administration. We have one administration a little over a year ago, and we have a new administration. And the president of this new administration and just recently said that there will be transformation in Liberia, and he mentioned a lot of different areas. My question to you, I understand what position you take, but I have to ask you this question: do you think President Joseph Yamon Braga has what it takes to fight corruption using his arrest agenda? I'm getting a really bad feedback.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I'm in the vehicle. That's why. But let me say this. Let me say this to you.
Go ahead.
Let me say this to you, my brother Derek. Realistically speaking, we will support any government, whether it is from wherever, that wants to fight corruption and want to do it realistically, because we believe that one of the reasons why some of us are here, some of our best brains are in the diaspora, is because of the same issue of corruption. Today in this America, you have engineers, etc., that could be used, you know, to build our country, to build every sector of our nation. But why they are here? Because of the same corrupt act When they go to Liberia, or to be very specific now, let's put it in context. When they go to Liberia, do they have the opportunity? Other people look at it and say, they may come in, they come into our job. So we will support any government that want to really, really fight corruption. We will definitely support that government, and that government will have our support. But when it comes to this government that is led by Joseph Numa Boyka, I want to tell you, my brother, it is a complete fiasco. And anybody who is thinking of Joseph Numa Boyka having the ability or the appetite to fight corruption, you are living in a dream world. No, it's very simple. There are indicators that you can look at for which you can point to and say, yes, this person is serious. You first of all want to look at the person's track record. Every one of us here, right? When you apply for a job, maybe they will ask you for your CV. Why are they asking for your CV? It's to know how you've been. It's to know your own, ability that you have exhibited in other working areas, to be able to scrutinize you and look at your records to see whether, you are really fit or you are a perfect match for that particular job. So let's look at Joseph Numa Boyka's record as an individual, working in government for 40, almost plenty years. One will say 42 plus years. Let's look at this man's record of fighting corruption. 0. Let's look at the reason why he was disgraced in other previous government. Let's look at, for example, the government of His Excellency President, the slim president, Dr. Samuel Kayando, who is late today. Why was he fired? This man was fired because of the poor handling of the PL 480 project. You know that. Let's look at even doing a wartime government. The government of Emon Claudia Sawyer. That time was not even correct. I mean, everybody can do their own thing. This particular man was fired again from the government that was not even correct. Everybody know the Emon Sawyer government, forget it. Everybody can just cry and go. In a place where people can grab their own and go, the people look at you, they say, no, oh man, you more than all. They grab you, they look at you, they say, no, go, we ain't want you. These are some of the records. Let's look at the most recent record of Joseph Numa Boyka. Because what we're saying, somebody will say, oh, that Charlie Kintan record you can't show yet. But let's look at the most recent record of Joseph Numa Boyka. This was a man who was there as vice president of the Republic of Liberia and was in charge of what we call the LAP/ADA rice project in Lofa County. Almost a $50 million rice project. Joseph Numa Boyka was the direct focus person of the Liberian government on that particular project. In fact, he serves as the government eyes on that particular project. Under the watchful eyes of Joseph Numa Boyka in Lofa, the county he claimed that he so loved and etc. That project was, damaged. That project was destroyed. Under the watchful eyes of Joseph Numa Boyka, nothing became of that particular project. That project just died. Today, as we speak to you, Liberia is suffering the consequences of not utilizing that project. We are going up and down and trying to see how bad we can ask people for, or spending almost about, some $9 million on the importation of some substandard rice from some kind of country that we don't even know. You see, let's just look. The government of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, before I just, pause here because I know others have to come in. This was a Joseph Numa Boyka who alluded to the fact that they squandered the opportunity. When somebody squanders your opportunity, it's not necessarily maybe, taking money from you, but it might be opportunities. Once you squander opportunity, there's another high level of corruption. It is because of the opportunity that Joseph Numa Boyka squandered. That's why today we found ourselves where we are as a nation, that we are still struggling. He openly said it. Let's look at the quite recent one, the inaugural funds. Joseph Numa Boyka, as president of the Republic of Liberia, a fund was given for the inaugural program. Joseph Numa Boyka presided over that particular program, and at the end of the day, he ended up fainting. Only because people mismanaged the resources. At the end of the day, what they Joseph Numa Boyka was brave enough to write on the Executive Mansion website, congratulating people who stole the money or people who mismanaged that money. You're telling me it meant to fight corruption, my brother? I think, yeah, but of course, yeah, give others the opportunity.
Let's give Mr. Randy the opportunity to opine on this subject matter. Talking about corruption causing our youth to leave Africa, and is President Boyka able to, as Mr. Sherry said, fight corruption vigorously in Liberia, Mr. Randy?
Yeah, Derry, and excuse me, my apology there, Derry. I was trying to cater to my kids. They were in the process of doing some assignment, and I was
That's
trying to
fine.
validate that. So my apologies for not coming here. I did send you a private chat. I don't know where you managed to see that. I was stepping away.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All
I'm
right,
used to
cool.
my phone, but it's okay though.
All right, thank you so much.
Mhm.
As far as the issue of youth leaving Africa, this is a fundamental problem that is not only limited to Liberia. I don't think the continent of Africa uh, has realized that they do have a role to play, and that role is about growing generation and improving the pathway for generation.
It's 9 o'clock.
We have seen over the years that many youth around the African continent or within different parts of Africa continue to go across the Mediterranean Sea trying to get to Europe. That is an indication that even though people talk about Africa being the wealth or belt or the mine of natural resources, I think the leader themselves, they don't really know exactly why they became leader on that continent. So it had become a continental challenges that many African countries are facing today. However, I would like to limit this to Liberia because Liberia is unique on the continent of Africa, Terry. This is a country that did not go through any colonization, to be frank with you. This is a country where ex-slaves were imported to, but those who went through that uh, exit process from the United States to Liberia actually became the fundamental problem of the country. These were people who came from the United States, understand how racism created inequality among themselves. You would imagine that the lesson they learn here would be an opportunity to make Liberia a template that other African countries will follow. Fast forward up to today, what we see happening today, it will give anyone with an average understanding of why people should take lesson learned from experiences. I don't think we've seen that in Liberia. And that has been a problem since the beginning of our independence since 1847. So coming to someone like Joseph Boyka, he gets the symptom of the corrupt system. And yeah, he's a symptom of the corrupt system. He's not a root cause, he's a symptom and a contributing factor of the corrupt system. And beyond all reasonable doubt, Joseph Boyka is really elevating um, the the systemic corruption that we are facing in the country and every other thing that we are experiencing in the country. And like Prince Sherry said, Joseph Boyka, just want to piggyback on what Prince Sherry said. I mean, said many people brag about Joseph Boyka for the 2 year experience. And as Prince said, in the United States and other developed countries, people don't ask for your credential first, they ask for your experience. So Boyka came through the election process and said that, I mean, the campaign process and said that he had for the 2 year experience. For me, in addition to the 2 year experience, Mr. Boyka saw what happened during the Tottenham, the Tottenham era. He worked in the Turbo era, he worked in the Doe era, and then he experienced the war. This is a man who should be now the teacher, the rabbi, and the imam of democracy in our country. He's not acting like that. The man is appointing people who threaten other people from doing their work. An immigration officer in the southwestern part of the country who were trying to prevent immigrants from entering the country, saying no to corruption. You find his internal affairs minister saying that he's going to find the man, he's going to kill the man. And Joseph Boyka said nothing. But these are things that continue to ruin our opportunity, and he continues to support these things. Mr. Boyka again sat down, listened to one of his deputy ministers calling a lawmaker and threatening to kill a lawmaker. These are things that create instability in the country. So the question here is, why is Mr. Boyka president today? Does he really understand why he's president? I think
before we get into that, I'm staying with you, but I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't want this to be far behind us before I bring it back up. But you said something very, very interesting, and I appreciate the fact that you referencing Mr. Sheriff point, because I was going to ask you a question on that. Now you said that those people that exited the U.S. as ex-slaves are the major problem. Am I quoting you right? You said where
Yes.
the problems.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I want you to further expand on that, and I'm because I think this is interesting.
Yes.
Why do you think there are like the fundamental problems? And if you would, who are those people today, as far as history is concerned? Because
Yes.
we know like bro history, the people that came, who are they, and those that were on land at the time. So I want you to expand on that if you can, and then
Yes.
I'll ask. Go ahead.
Thank you, Derek. And that's a very important question you asked. You see, when the Reconstruction era ended under Abraham Lincoln, the opportunity was given to all blacks to either stay or repatriate back to their country. These guys who were very knowledgeable enough to say, you know what, gentlemen, we can build ourselves a better country. And the very people who enslaved us here, they left from Europe and came here and built their country. However, they decided to enslave other people. So we understand that we became victims of their strategy to become better country. Now they enslaved us. We saw what their enslavement did for us and did to us. So as we found our way back to Africa, the question of why they went back to Africa, what lesson did they learn here? They never put pillows in the ground. All the corruption we see today, the lack of enforcement, the lack of implementation, it started from those who left from here. The people who left from here back then, they were knowledgeable. Based on the treatment they got here, they had some level of understanding what it means about inequality. What they failed to do was to begin to put in place institution and begin to teach our people what it means to sustain your country, what it means to be Liberia-centric, to be a citizen who believe in a system, who believe in a process, because for any reason, it will go against us. What they managed to secure, Derek, they created a class system where they completely disenfranchise and disassociate themselves from the indigenous people. So in that era, they enjoy the opportunity. They have control over the resources. They have control over every opportunity. And we saw it. The remnant of today from the past, when you go across the 15 counties, there are people who were born in the 60s, in the 50s. They cannot read and write. How you think at that age they are unable to read and write? One, they did not establish putting an end to illiteracy by saying, look, we were denied of education back in the United States. How do we repair that? Before anyone turned 18-year-old, they should be out of high school. That's what we can do as the basic. They did not give people the opportunity to at least participate in the wealth of the country. You saw the great divide between the have and the have not. So what did they do as far as institutionalizing our people mindset, teaching them how to be, ethical, teaching them how to love their neighbor, teaching them how to be committed to a job? None of those things were done. So guess what? People who came after them, because they were never nurtured, they were never taught. Everything that we see today, where the lawmakers are getting exorbitant pay, where the lawmakers are getting 56,000 to move, where the lawmakers are enjoying the pleasure, those are things that brought about the war. So when these guys who came to power saw those things, they say, if it ain't break, don't fix it. Everything the guys are doing today is a template that they met, except that they're adding.
That's what I'm sorry to interrupt. That's what my next question is coming from. But let's hear from Mr. Weah first, because and I will come to you, Mr. Sherry.
Yeah. So thank you, Jay, for that. I think I have said that consistently, but here is the caveat. The guys, the returnees, they are wanted Liberia as former slaves. Unfortunately, they weren't rehabilitated. They came from slavery. The only experience they had was the way they were treated by their slave masters. I'm not backing them for doing that. As a result of that, when they went back to Liberia, then whenever you were a Liberian, a visa was not required to travel to the United States. People, all you needed to do to travel to the United States was the Liberian passport. But as he said, the point there was that they felt that if they were to open up, they were going to lose power. That is why the same way they were treated, changing their names. That's why people who now can be angry when you call them by their native names. It was brought about by the people we call Congo, the returnees, to the point that intermarriages was also opposed unless you became part of them, unless you change your name, even to go to school at a certain level. But the point now is those we call Congo are gone. The structure is still in place. Though came to power as a result of that. Though did not change it. Though maintain the structure. Those who are our representative senators, including Boakai, we are all those, they are all so-called country children. They are still occupying the structure. Nobody is willing to change it. Who is supposed to change it? It is right now, it is not a question of Congo and country. It is about patriotism. It's about someone who is willing to break this virus. We're talking about Africa as a whole. Look here. In the United States, the Deputy Treasury Secretary is a young Nigerian. We're talking about the brain of Africans. We got a lot of talented people from Africa. Because of lack of structure, because of lack of patriotism, because of lack of love for the nation. It's not about nationalism, it's about patriotism. That's why we save Liberia. That's why we save Africa. Patriotism, not nationalism. What can we do? How can we put our country first? Right now, if you live in Monrovia, you leave the village you come, they call you countryman, you from the bush. The same is going on. Those who did this, they are gone. We need to recognize it. The Civil War came and destroyed the country. But we have not changed. We still do the same thing that brought about the Civil War. When are we going to change?
Thank you, Mr. Jawingu. Yeah, let me stay with you. We have Mr. Sheriff made a struck a point earlier that I want you to address, and I think it's around what you were talking about. We have most of our bright and brightest minds, people from different disciplines out of Liberia, very young. And this is what happens. Usually, don't come back to the country until they're very old, where they can't contribute much to the country anymore. Now, I want you, first of all, we've talked a lot about why that is going on, but how can we, as a nation, try to get our young people, our young experts, to come back to the country to help us develop as a country? And also, um, let's come back to the day. We had two administrations in the past a year and a half. Those two administrations, if you were to draw a comparison, which one do you think is much equipped to fight corruption, whether vigorously or not so much? Who do you think is best in the best position to serve Liberia as far as fighting corruption, Mr. Weir? And I'll
Who
come
is
to
in
you
a better
next.
position?
Yeah, who will you take to fight corruption in Liberia? The previous administration or this administration?
Both. I actually expected the former president, President Weir, because of his background. The problem, corruption is not white, it's not blue, it's not green, it has no color. So you got to be practical to talk about it if you are in power. For example, you need to define clearly what you expect of your government official, your policy. If people were paying money to get this, make it clear to them. Sheriff, you are the justice minister. Mr. Sheriff is the justice minister now. Tell Sheriff that, look, as the justice minister, this it needs to happen. Now, one for thing to be clear, you got to define what you want. There should be expectation. People should know what they are going to do, what needs to happen. Nobody should bribe again. Bribe nobody to pay money to get this service. You gotta be clear about that and what will happen after that. If you did this, what's going to happen? Until we reach that point, we'll have problem. You need a president that will be willing to say clearly what is expected of those who are in power and what will happen if they break that law. That's the only way we'll change corruption. That's the only way we'll move forward in Liberia.
Do you agree with Mr. Sheriff that former President Bouaka is not the man to do that, based on his track record?
Well, like for instance, Bouaka was supposed to be the one.
So do you agree with him or not?
To agree that to say you will not be able to do that
Bouaka is, to use this word, Bouaka is not. If we think Bouaka is the man to do this job, then we're
no. I would not say you will not be. If he is willing, all we need is political will. He's still in power. You got more time.
Let's let me come back to Mr. Sheriff. Let me come back to Mr. Sheriff on this question. Okay, you support the former president, President Josh Manu Weah. But when we look at his administration, and you talking about Bouaka fighting the ministry, can fight a corruption, or if you were to do a sincere comparison between former President George Weah and President Bouaka, based on the 6 years we saw former President Weah governing our nation, and just the almost 7 or 8 months that President Bouaka been in power, who again, are you being sincere with Liberian people when you say that President Bouaka is not the man to fight corruption for us, especially where you're a supporter of former President George Manu Weah?
So, my brother Derek, I want to start with this. Let me, before going on, let me welcome Mr. Dapo. Mr. Dapo, welcome. Jay, thank you so much. The platform there, we always follow the platform, thought-provoking, topic. And really educative. So we want to encourage everybody, to also follow your platform. Let's forget about, putting ourselves in our own, partisan, somebody will say cocoon, and try to, listen to people who have diverse view. So I would like to encourage, our people, follow Randy Dapo. You may not like what he say, but at the end of the day, when you analyze it from a realistic standpoint as a human being, so to speak, you will get to know that, we are fighting for a good cause and to make Liberia better. So thank you, my brother Randy. It's an opportunity to share the platform with you. My brother, to your question, in Liberia, we have this particular, I don't know if it is happening in other countries because I can't hear American, I see it. But in Liberia, there is this particular, since we are talking about Liberia, there is this notion when you go apply, the people will say, give me your experience. How many years experience you get? To the extent that people who graduated from the University of Liberia with either cum laude or whatever, once you apply, they will say, my man, experience, how many years experience you get? Now, the reason why people ask that question is to, to be able to put you in a better position also that, they can evaluate to see whether this man have been there, done that, whether he what he's doing, and etc., etc. There is not much room that is provided for people who are just coming. When you just come, it becomes very difficult for you to really be absorbed, in the system, even in government. Now, I am not saying this to exclude the Weah-led government to say, well, that was a new government, they just took over power. No, I'm not saying that. But with whom much responsibility is given, you have to prove yourself beyond all reasonable doubt. Now, when you look at the Weah government, the issue of corruption is something that we tried to minimize. And it was a challenge. I'm not going to sit here to say it was never a challenge. It was a serious challenge. But we also took what we call an unprecedented approach to be able to fight corruption. I'm going to give you an example. The first thing that President Weah did was to look at the salaries and benefits that the office of the president was receiving and say, look, do I sit down here and receive all of this just unto myself? Let me start the fight of corruption. So even though to some extent they make it look legal, But he said, look, I'm going to reduce my salary, my benefit, whatever, by 25%. That was a serious approach taken to fight what we call an institutional lies and a legal lies corruption. That was a serious approach. The second thing that President Weah did to fight the issue of corruption was he looked at the salary of government officials and he was able to set a ceiling and say, look, nobody in this particular government we think should be able to make the amount of $10,000 or $15,000 as was done in previous government. We do not have that kind of money. So therefore, everybody who work in the executive, as far as I'm concerned, look, don't make more than $6,000. That was a serious approach that was taken to fight the issue of corruption. And one of the things that he also did to fight the issue of corruption is to be able to, institutionalize or be able to make sure we have a law, this Whistleblower Act, the Whistleblower Act. It was amended under the regime of President George Manneh Weah that people who will blow whistle for corruption or for whatever, that they must be protected. Let's look at the High Court, the Table Mountain Declaration, or the Abdullah A. Kamara Act that was passed. Even though we had the Table Mountain Declaration that protect people, you can speak generally, nobody will run behind you, but Liberia will still have a problem with it. So President Weah introduced the Abdullah A. Kamara law that basically will be able to protect people who speak or people who criticize, because at the end of the day, people who are blowing whistle will either be blowing for the government or against the government, and they need to be protected. So that particular law was introduced that will be able to protect journalists, because most of the time, there are journalists who raise this issue. I'm not saying that it's not raised by common people, the issue of corruption, but you and I know, in most cases, they are the journalists, or the radio people or whatever we call them, whether it be the print media or electronic media, whatever media, they are the people who, really speak out or point out these corruptions in government. So this law was passed to protect these people so that at the end of the day, when they are speaking out, they will not be afraid. Now, when it comes to the government itself, we saw that President Weah took some real actions that was actually able to help to minimize the issue of corruption. But did we eradicate corruption? No. Now, that was just a young government. Look at the practical approach that we took in fighting the issue of corruption as a young government. Somebody would say as a government, people never led before, but they came, and look at the approach that we took. As compared to a government that has been there since, I don't know, because Madam Ellen Johnson said he worked in the government of President Tolbert. You know that. Joseph Numa Boyka worked in the government of President Tolbert, even before becoming vice president for 12 years or becoming president. So these people at first hand, they understand what the problem, like Randy said, they understand what the problem of Liberia is, because they were there before. So you will expect that this Joseph Numa Boyka government will do everything serious. I'll give you one example before I can turn over the floor. In Africa, we do something. We always give our children to our grandparents. Most of the time, in Africa, the Omo boys, hey, go to your grandma, let your grandma. You know what? One of the reasons why we send our children to our grandpeople, because these people are people who have gone through all of the discipline of life. They are older. They can be able to instill that discipline in that child without favor. They can instill that discipline in that child without looking behind. These people have gotten all of the requisite knowledge. They are part, somebody say they've been there and done that. So they will not be afraid to be able to correct the child or to take the necessary action in love, to be able to correct that child. So I'm saying this to me, Joseph Numa Boyka, as per his age and his experience, he should be the one to stand up and say, look, we expect much from this government. Because Joseph Numa Boyka, as a president, he has nothing to lose. Nothing he got to lose. Within the next 10 years, that old man, let God help her now. But maybe he may not even be around. But unfortunately, he is not taking the actions that are necessary to be able to even fight corruption.
Thank you.
The man talk about a pay. He said reducing a pay. But what's about the pay of other people?
Mr. Sheriff,
yes, sir.
I'll come to you, Mr. Randy, but I think Mr. Weah had his pen up. You got a rebuttal
Yes.
to what Mr.
I,
Sheriff
I,
was saying.
I, I want to clear. I want to make quick point here straight.
Go
But
ahead.
Sheriff, to be very honest with you, it is a mockery to say President Weah was serious for corruption. One, the salary reduction he talked about, he didn't say how much he was making. One, and the reduction, how much it amounted to, and what project was it going towards. Moreover, President Weah was talking about corruption, while at the same time dishing out money to people in his name. The money from where? From a power farm? What I'm saying in short here is this. If President Weah was really serious, he was the most popular president in recent times. He would have come up with a good structure, how much he expected the presidency, even to terms. He could have said, okay, you know, I want for senator to be this. You can call for a referendum based on Weah's popularity. Look, this is the country we have as a Liberia. This is our income, and this is how much we are making, including myself. Plain, don't say 25%, it doesn't make any sense. 25% of what? And that 25% go towards what? What problem is it solving? You can't say you're doing something that people are not seeing clearly. Corruption, as I say, it's not white, it's not blue, it's not green, it's not yellow. You say 25%. What is 25% of what? Equivalent to what? And that percentage you are talking about go towards which problem is it going to solve? It was never identified. Up and now, he never told the Liberian people how much you are making and how much the 25% in question was the equivalent of that. And who was making sure that it was coming out and which problem was it solving? It was not explained.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from you, Mr. Randy. We've heard a lot, and let me come to you first if you have something that you want to respond to. But I have a question for Mr. Sheriff after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss things with evidence and with fundamental principles. As far as the president's salary goes, I think there is a stipulated amount within the Constitution that we all should be aware of. And that just goes to show that we continue to inherit the political illiteracy as well as the academic illiteracy, because children growing up in this country at a certain age and depending on their IQ will know exactly how much the US president make is because of the civic education that they provide to us here. I don't know whether Samuel Karen will declare his salary, but I remember growing up, we often used to say the president making 12,000, 25,000 a year. Eddie came to power. How much was he making? It was never disclosed. Now people are seeing President Weah, and including Mr. Weah, is saying that, oh, Mr. Weah did not disclose. What about Joe Boga too? I mean, this is the man who has 42-year experience. I mean, has he declared his salary as well? So I think when we distributing responsibility, we should be able to reference other things from elsewhere. So like I said, the entire country is politically taxes and contaminated with corrupt people, and even the legislature, and aside from their principal pay to get all the other miscellaneous thing, we can only assume how much they make. So when it comes to salary restructuring, I would give some level of respect to the Weah administration. And here's why. President Weah was able to talk about salary harmonization. And based on the salary harmonization, that's why he got put out of office, because it was a change that he was bringing out. Was that 100% correct? Absolutely not. But at least he introduced something that people that disturb people. When people don't want change,
it was not an act that the problem was that it was not regulated.
Derek
is wrong.
Derek,
go ahead. Let's protect
Derek,
Mr. Rank. Go ahead.
Yeah, Derek. I mean, I'm very principle minded. I don't interrupt people, so I assume the rules of engagement here should be the same as well. I do get sometimes pumped up, but I have to respect other people's opinion because I know my time have to come. That's why we have 4 blacks here. 1, 2, 3, 4. You go around 1, 2, 3, 4. You 1, whoever the 2, whoever the 3, the 4. People need to be able to respect other people's opinions. All right. So please, I'm not telling you how to work to do your show, but I mean, people out there, We are not into face for a debate to win. All right, thank you for the protection. I appreciate that. So, as I was saying, what is happening now are things that have been inherited. This current administration of Joseph Boakai, there are a lot of mistakes that Mr. Boakai continued to make, and it's fresh in our minds. He came to power on the mantra of saying that the country had been corrupt for a long period of time. True, he had been corrupt for a long period of time. But what has he done as far as the planning goes? He went through the first 100 days, nothing had been established. He is going up to 228 days, not a single national development plan has been established. His government officials are mixed up with corruption, from even deciding who will be the speaker. There was legislature out there saying that Boakai get or this, Boakai get or that. He never came out to say anything. But this is the man who said he came to fight corruption. Do I want to believe that? No. I think what I want to believe is the people of Liberia made a serious mistake. They saw Boakai and Ellen administration 12 years ago, how they broke down the country, and even Mr. Boakai himself accepted the fact that they squandered a lot of opportunities. But now, how is he going to fix the opportunity that is squandered? He is yet to tell us. Up to today, if I ask you, the arrest, what national development agenda, what are the strategic area, what are Boakai focus area, what are they doing in terms of the education ministry? How does that arrest fit in there? How does the healthcare sector fit in there? How does the infrastructure fit in there? Nothing has been done. We see President Boakai just going on trip with no deliverable. We see President Boakai taking very large number of people when the country is stretched out of money. This is one of the incompetent individuals that I have ever seen in my history and in my time of discussing politics. I think Mr. Boakai was only elected because of his age, and I keep telling Liberians to separate his age. Separate Boakai age from his experience. He has none. So what are we facing here with Derek? We are facing a calamity that will continue to haunt us. Mr. Boakai completely came and brought in people who work in the early administration with no good records. These same people are manifesting themselves today. In all fairness to Mr. Weah introduced the salary harmonization. If that was something that Boakai believed in, there's nothing wrong with Boakai fixing that harmonization, right? To make it better. Football started in Europe. Today, other countries, especially Brazil from South America, have perfected football. Boakai is not showing to the Liberian people that he actually came to fight corruption. He's not showing to the Liberian people that he is a guy with 42-year experience. You see what's happening in the country over there. There is nothing. The rule of law, nothing. Structuring things from the basic, nothing. So where do we stand? I'm hearing that Mr. Boakai was not even invited. And again, I'm hearing that he was not even invited to China. And that is why they hire him on our bus. Because he just showed up. I don't know whether that is true, but people are not communicating here. But I'm hearing from all conference sources that he was not invited over there. I'll give it back to you, Derek.
Thank you very much. And let me come back to you, Prince, because and this is also in line with what Mr. Randy just mentioned. You know, a couple of things can be true. It can be true that Mr. Boakai isn't doing enough so far to fight corruption specifically. What can also be true is that most Liberian, matter of fact, over 50% of the population believes that when it comes to fighting corruption, former President George Manneh Weah administration should have absolutely nothing to say about that. When it comes to fighting corruption, over 50% of our population will say, and that the results of our election will show that the Liberian people is saying to the former administration that you should have nothing to say. And can mind you that they witnessed the administration you were talking about, the 12 years of Ellen and Joseph Boakai, and they went through the same thing with George Manneh Weah administration. There's an article, Al Jazeera, I'm looking at it right now, that is clearly stated that corruption was almost synonymous to President Weah administration. This is a question for you, Mr. Sheriff. We had just right from the time President Weah became, from the time he was inaugurated, corruption was literally synonymous to his administration. From him renovating, building a mansion to his decades dilapidated mansion on 9th Street, from him to most of his government official being put on sanction list. And to this day, his administration has done nothing about it. So, Mr. Sheriff, when you come talk to the Liberian people and say George Manuel Weah, former President George Manuel Weah, took steps to fight corruption, how do you address those issues? Well, most of his officials were sanctions. He did nothing about. There were a lot of allegations of corruption that he did not
It's all
address.
laughable anyway.
How do you explain that to the Liberian people?
My brother, the first thing here is you said you are looking at a report, from, I don't know where that report is from, but I will refer you to the 2024, that is the most recent MCC report on Liberia. It's right online there. When you look at that report, that is one of the most sophisticated report, on country, record as it relates to corruption, good governance, etc., etc. Look at that report on Liberia. I'm sure you can, put it up for the people. When you look at that report show us, it was very clear to prove to the Liberian people the steps that President Weah was taking in the fight of corruption. And there is this popular clip that is also going around, making some rounds on the social media, where you see some group of nurses or group of people singing, you harmonize our salary, we harmonize your vote. You get 20%, we get 0%. Now, this is the kind of system that we have. There are people who want to fight the issue of corruption. You will be punished for fighting corruption. You will be vilified for fighting corruption. You will be denounced by society. You will be ostracized from society if you want to fight corruption, because people believe that the system should be as it is. One of the reasons why you see today that people will say that and say, oh, yeah, we are government, because there was some serious reform. Now, I am not saying on this platform that we as a government or as a people, we never had issues of corruption under the Weah-led administration. But we are looking at the effort that the previous government, that is His Excellency President George Manuel Weah, was taking to fight corruption. Like I said, you look at the MCC report, it is very clear. When you look at the issue of salary harmonization, that was another reason for which today we are sitting down and say, the people win us. Because there were other people who felt that, look, if I am at the Ministry of Finance as a driver, at a good area, I'm supposed to make $5,000 as salary. The man that to the Ministry of Youth and Sports as driver is supposed to make $300. So these are things that President Weah brought on the table and said, look, let's sit down, let's look at this thing here. So we saw President Weah taking what we call a practical step in fighting corruption. But again, because of the system that he inherited, because of the corrupt system that he inherited from the likes of Joseph Numa Boyka, this is the reason why these people gang up against His Excellency President Dr. George Manuel Weah. Was everything rosy? Was the issue of corruption, was it been eradicated? No, but we're working towards it. Because remember now, we took over a system that was never serious in fighting corruption. You know that. Since the day of Joseph Jiggy Rabo, I will not call the president near, but all know that president. One president, the people say you go to England, you go pay money. They get all kind of funny story. Even though it's not true, but for comical reason, let's say they say, oh, the man go take plenty of money, bring it for England, go borrow the people money. He borrow the people money, and take it, put in the money sang with him. Even though that is not the true story, I would not call any. That is not the true story. We all know what carry Ayiko Firestone to Liberia, and even that money that we receive from Firestone, whether that money was even used to better the people's life. So what we are saying here is that, look, let's not sugarcoat it. As a sedition, if I come here and try to say, oh, yeah, we there. No. That would be a sycophant. So what I'm saying is that the issue of corruption is deeply rooted in our system. And to fight it, we need to be sincere and we need to take some, uncommon approach. And those approaches that we take to fight corruption, we will be punished for it. But must we, draw back? Like, for example, President Weah, one of the reasons that he was punished by some people was because he took
this particular salary, alignment thing to be very serious and say, look, let's work on this. It's not possible that the mayor and the deputy minister, for example, at the Ministry of Finance, is making 10,000. Then the deputy minister at the Ministry of Youth and Sport is making 2,005. The deputy minister at the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication making 1,800. The deputy minister at maybe the other ministry, they may making 500. So let's bring it on par. And we saw what happened. He was punished for that. But as president, we are giving up on Liberia? No. So are we also giving up on Liberia? No, we are not giving up. Because we must fight this thing. Like, for example, when you look at the history, of Thomas Sankara, of Jerry Rawlings, you even know of Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. These are people that took what we call an uncommon approach to be able to fight the issue of corruption. It is alleged, I don't know, but it is alleged that to the extent that Jerry Rawlings even laid people down and beat some of them. Say you. Is that you, brah? Can't sit down here. Confused. TV boy. Come on, can't sit down here. He beat them for corruption. Some of them he bought them all for the issue of corruption. And today, Ghanaians are boasting of some of the things that he did. Let's look at Thomas Sankara. Today, Thomas Sankara is seen as an icon in Africa, even though the man was not too educated compared to some of the education that some of us receive. Yeah, some of will get one degree, but he was not as compared to that. From history, that man, he was not even a career high school student. And you understand? But he took practical approach. Let's look at Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. Today, Singapore is a nation that other nations are proud of because of what we call the serious approach that they took. Now, this was the same approach that President Weah was taking. Our people said, no, we don't want it. Hey, you have our salary. We don't want for you to have our salary. The men who fighting corruption, people join the street. They say, no, don't fight corruption. Who tell you say you fight corruption? For you fighting corruption, we don't vote for you.
Thank you.
So you see, as compared to Josiah Numa Boyka, now Josiah Numa Boyka has all what it takes to make that country better, and even maybe one would say to eradicate corruption. Because
that's a strong statement.
Okay.
He has everything it takes to do what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. He has the age, he has the experience, but unfortunately, he is not doing anything in that light to be able to fight corruption. This is Mr. Joseph Numa Boyka who said on VOA, the records are there, that when he take over, the first thing he will do, the first thing, even my own father here, Mr. Weah know, the Papa said, as soon as I take over, the first thing I will do, I will declare my asset. In order for me to know, say, yeah, I can fight corruption now for you to be serious. He said, I will declare my asset. As we speak today, is that asset declared? The last time we saw Joseph Numa Boyka taking how you call it drugs tax, because that is another form of corruption and making our people taking. He said he go take drugs tax. Now, what was the reason of he taking that drugs tax? So that he can be able to, fight the issue of drugs. But as I speak to you now, since the day he go take drug test, according to the LDA Abraham Nkrumah, they say some kind of drug called Zumbi, it was introduced in Liberia. Now me say, that Abraham Nkrumah said it. That Zumbi was introduced in Liberia. From the day Joseph Numa Boyka go, he say he taking drugs test. In fact, they say the men were saying the drugs test, they get happy. How will a man say you fighting drug when your son, yeah, my own cousin, his son becomes from Lofa and Kima, his own cousin, his son, the man get big drug, he get ghetto. His son get ghetto. As I speak to you now, as we say now here, in the morning Liberia now, they play that the people smoking, they drinking, they doing all kind of things, they taking drugs. No. He is someplace.
Listen,
so how can this man, you look at people who are allegedly involved in the issue of drugs trade, and you put them in your government? My people, let's be serious with the issue. Look, if we fight corruption, right, all of us will benefit. So it's not about a CDT thing. It's not about a unity party thing. It's about the development of Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff. Guys, this is episode 9 of season 6 of the Hustle. I'll come to you before we take a break. Just the hard zone, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. And just by way of disclaimer, all of the opinions and position that will be offered on this network tonight is not the official position of the network, but that of the individual panelists that are offering them. So with that being said, let's hear from you, Mr. Weah, and then we'll take a break, and when we'll come back, we'll give you guys the opportunity to close on this.
Jerry, let be
Go
serious
ahead, Mr.
here.
Weah.
Let me be very serious here. This is not political campaigning time. We are talking about Liberia. Let's be realistic. The problem of Liberia is lack of structure, functioning structure that is serving the Liberian people in a practical way. To sit here and say President Weah intentions or President Weah took action that aim at preventing corruption, I will say no. I was in Liberia all the time. In the first place, Weah had the same very people Taylor had as advisors. One, COVID money that was raised to fight COVID, to do this, it was just shared. No account. Weah became president before he broke down a 9th Street house. It's not a question of whether I'm against Weah or not. I do not against any particular or person as an individual. But I don't let people to pretend to say this person did well. In which way? Where is the structure? What I am saying here is that if President Weah had the intention of fighting corruption, it should have been done through the Congress. I mean, the lawmakers. It should have come up with something. If they were to beat it down, it should have gone through the referendum. He was popular. All the changes, you can talk about harmonizing, on salary, then you dishing out money in the street. You giving out money, paying school fees, the money from where? How does that, do you think the people stupid? Can they see? Why isn't he distributing the money now? He's not president. Where is that money? So we should be serious about this country. We shouldn't be paying blind loyalty. I'm not supporting Boakai either. The person I supported in this campaign, this going election, that was Tiawan Gonglo. Boakai also is missing the boat. As I said earlier, we need someone that will put in place a structure that will hold everybody accountable. But to sit here and demonize Boakai alone is what I don't really support. Weah had the time. Weah was young. Weah was more popular than Boakai. Weah never took any practical initiative in terms of fighting corruption. People who died, there was no prosecution. He never fired anybody from a cabinet. Those who were even sanctioned for corruption. All of them built houses. The money from where? He built hospital, he built this. Money from where? He said he's serving people. In this America, can president, the president we have now, Joe Barker, Joe go somewhere and say this should be the money to people, to students? No. It has to pass through the Congress, or there should be something. People need to fight for it. You can't do it in your name. There should be a system. We are the based system. Barker didn't build system, and nobody has ever built system. And we have that problem in Liberia because we are not willing to build system. We want to build it around individual name. Until we build system, it will never work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we will give you guys the opportunity to close on this episode. If you're watching us, this is episode 9 of season 6. My name is Derek Yale, and I'm playing host tonight, and we will see you after the break.
Hi, my name is Theophilus Juliban Nelson I. I am the founder and CEO of Lift Africa LLC. Lift Africa started as an employment agency that sought the employment of immigrants coming to the U.S. and finding ways and means to go to start life in this great your country. Now we are
See I can see. All the good God do for me, oh. Papa, your blessing to plant me and I get
Celebration, celebration, celebration. I mean celebration. Here come the biggest news you have been waiting for. The Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas, ULAA, is pleased to announce her 50th anniversary and inauguration. Our guest speaker is Honorable J. Fonanti Kofa, Speaker of the House of Representatives, 55th Legislature, Republic of Liberia, hosted by the National Administration, ULA, National Executive President of ULA, Mohammed MSG1 Keita, National Vice President, Emmanuel Nagbe, Chairman of the Board, Honorable Dao Kamara, First Vice President of the Board, Honorable James Barkley, members of the Eminent Council of Yola, member of the Founding Father of Yola, Dr. Sion Kwon J.K. Nyanswao Sr. Our chief launchers are Dr. Thomas Tue and Honorable Alfred Sier, chief launcher of ULAA. Yola, this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching us, this is episode 9 of season 6 of the Hard Zone. If this is your first time joining us, I say thank you so much for joining us here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yanley. I'm playing host here tonight. I'm here with my panelists, Mr. Ja Winkinwia, Mr. J. Randy, and Mr. Prince Sharif. It has been a very, very intriguing and interesting discussion here tonight. But we would like to draw the curtain to this episode. But before we do that, we will take a closing remark from our panelists, and then we will bid you farewell and see you guys next Thursday. Same time, same network. I would like to start with you, Mr. Sheriff, to give us your closing remark, and then I will take Mr. Wia and then Mr. Randy. I'd like to start with you, Mr. Sheriff.
All right. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity. And let me say thanks to, the panelists on here. It's always a privilege when we mount this platform because we see it as a period where we can, intellectually exchange ideas and learn from each other. So I want to say thanks for the opportunity and thanks to everyone that is on here with us on set tonight. I want to end with this. It is unfortunate, but that is the reality. The Liberia is retrogressing very rapidly. I know some people will have problem when we say this, but the indicators are there. When this government took over, the first thing that this government was able to do to its credit was to use members of the Liberia National Police to go there in King George, Grand Cape Mount County and open fire on unarmed protesters, killing almost about 6 Liberians. As I speak to you today, absolutely nobody is brought to justice for the massacre that took place in King George. Nobody was brought to book. The man who supervised that particular massacre, Gregory Como, is still passing around as police director. Something that will not happen in any serious country. Something that will not happen. As I speak to you, fellow Liberians, a Liberian citizen in Corway, they allege that the brother stole current. In Liberia now, this time when people steal current, the thing that they can do now, they can delete your breaker. That brother there, in a broad daylight, day was shining like day, everybody around. That brother was beaten to death by members of the Liberia National Police and that of the LEC team. As I speak to you today, we are yet to bring a single soul to book for that particular act. Just day before yesterday, a brother was beaten massively in the name of, they say he rode. He was beaten to death. Nobody is brought to book. $22 million that can be used to transform the education sector, the health sector,
was taken and given to the Minister of Public Works, Goodings, in the name of pliable roads. As I speak to you today, go and see the road. They say the road said they were vexed because they eat some of the money. So the road got vexed. In fact, the road is even damaged more than ever before. More than ever before. Fellow Liberians, Joseph Numa Boyka took almost about $8 million for his campaign from the SRB Bank. Immediately, he took over as president of the Republic of Liberia. The first thing he was able to do is to make sure he said, let me pay the people money back. All the time he paid the people money back. As soon as he win election, he said, let me get the people money back. Taking that money from the national coffers that could be used in the education sector, the health sector, etc., etc. Taking that money to pay that money back. As I speak to you, look at the other communication from Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast sent B letter behind. I said, but Mr. Boyka, you owing you also $9.7 million. You not pay ye. You not service your debt. Nothing they can. I mean, how you operating so? Yesterday, that was World Bank we saw telling us that Joseph Numa Boyka, some people were arguing, the men are old, the men are old. Africa, small baby Africa, where God they are independent. Just yesterday in the 60s, the time we're playing, the time, in fact, we. Africa were nowhere around. Africa had to send letter and say, I'm begging you, we pay your money here. You pay. We can cut the whole Liberia off. It's a security. Can you imagine the entire security of the nation is in the hands of other people because electricity is security in this country where I am. Right now, I'm coming to go change that and change different phone. You see current all over the place here because they understand that electricity, current, that security also. But in Liberia, Joseph Numa Boyka ain't doing that. But he preferred to take 69% on trip they play where they ain't buying, that they play going. He not invited. In fact, day before yesterday, China had meeting with some African countries. Yesterday too, they were meeting. We still waiting for them to have meeting with our own paper. Up to now, we still waiting. When you are not invited, you tell yourself, you say you go there. That you think that can happen. These people took over power unprepared and with lies. So today, the lies that they told yesterday have caught up with them. They are not even European people. Class 46 of the Liberian National Police. I guess some students that are there, some people that are trained, some of my colleagues, they are there. Class 46. Now more now, the people not even get shishi, kobo, fisa, fiap. They even get it. They pay them. Now more. Army people and police people, but you put them on assignment. Is they go on assignment? He pay the people here. As you speak to you, mass dismissal. It's not something that are making a mass dismissal. The entire country. In fact, today, according to signal that we are getting from the education sector, there will be a very huge percentage of our population, school-going kids, that may not be in school in this particular semester. I may not be in school. All of these things led to the incompetence of Joseph Numa Boyka. And that's why we are saying to our Liberian people, come September at the United Nations General Assembly, we will protest. Because it is, thank God we're in America. We're not in Liberia that somebody will say, I'll go shoot the people. Yeah, we will get gone. As I say, them are long gone. I get from me to change. I come in change. So in the country here, you can't shoot me because the law here, you're not able. You're not able to shoot me. So that one will go to the United Nations because we don't want problem in our country. The way Joseph Numa Boyka is proceeding, it is tantamount to bringing chaos or civil unrest. And that's why we don't want in our country that one will go to the United Nations General Assembly to go protest and call the war that their attention should be on Liberia. We need a better Liberia for we and our children. We don't want to return to Liberia when we are in our age 79 or 88-year-old. That time we go to Liberia. No one go to Liberia in our prime or, in an age where we can contribute. But unfortunately, Mr. Boyka is not making the atmosphere conducive. Running after people who get critical view. Look at what happened to Voice of Liberia radio station. They get a brave man to go playing gun there and say, oh yeah, the radio station, he had gun and this, that, and other thing. Running beyond political opponent to the extent, look at the assassination attempt on the life of President Weah by this particular government. So all of these things we are looking at, look at what they did at the party headquarters of the CDC. They went in the CDC headquarters and opened fire to the extent that one person died and there were scores that were wounded in that particular process. To the extent that ECOWAS have to come and say, oh, remember, you got to proceed red will. You still not in the power here. For the plenty year you spend in the power, you got to know how to proceed. ECOWAS got to come to counter. Imagine somebody of the aid that's still in government. ECOWAS people got to come and say, we're making you, oh, man, hold your peace small. Hold your fool. They country like be peaceful. Our country not open for displaced people or for refugee. Please make sure the country is order is put in order. So to end on this, I want to say thank you again, my brother, for giving me the opportunity. And this is always an opportunity where we can express ourselves, that nobody will wish hunt us, or nobody will say, yeah, coming to your house, we're playing drugs there and say you were dealing drugs. It will not happen. Someone who can't even drink coffee, like me, I can't even drink coffee. That's the first thing, because it's too strong for my system. So we want to thank you for providing this opportunity, and we hope that, you know, these kind of platforms will always be there where we can come, you know, and you know, in a most civilized manner, disagree to agree for a better Liberia. Thank you, and God bless you and the rest of the other panelists.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheriff, as always, for your
Thank you, Sheriff.
in other episode. Now let's hear from you, Mr. Jawinkin Weah.
Thank you, fellow Liberians. Liberia is for all Liberians. The problem of Liberia can only be solved by Liberians. And to solve the problem of Liberia, we need to be very realistic. The problem in Liberia, it is not caused by one person or a single government. From the time of Joseph Jenkins Roberts, we have never put in place a structure that will properly serve the Liberian people. All those that have been serving, they serve themselves. There is nowhere for the youth in Liberia to fight for something to better their lives, unless they know someone. Young girls in Liberia sell their body for school fees. That has been the problem of Liberia. To better Liberia, we need a government that will put in place a structure that will not give handout to people, that will give children of Liberia a fighting chance, that will give them opportunity to go to school and learn, trade, and all of these things. Sitting here castigating leaders will not solve our problems. It is true that we need to hold our leaders accountable in line with Article 1 of the Liberian Constitution, which says that the purpose of serving government is to work for the security and satisfaction of the people. But for too long, Liberians are sitting on the sideline, waiting for people to come from outside to solve the problem. It will never work. We need to demand our government, whether Boakai or whoever will come to power. For too long, we have been sitting. I know the brother who just left named a lot of stuff that are not reality. And people allow themselves to be told lies, to be indoctrinated. And that is not the right thing to do. I am in Liberia all the time. I was there during weird time. For some of us who love Liberia dearly, we nearly died during the war when I was a reporter for Inquirer. I was arrested. And that is several times in Chevelou, in so many places. That is why it's so painful that people are not willing to change. The people who put in power will call our government officials. They do the same thing that brought the war in Liberia. So at this time, I would like to call on the Boakai government to see the reason that Liberian people don't need handout. They need a fighting chance. Our young children, boys and girls, especially the girls, they don't need to sell their body for school fees. Government need to find opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin Weah, for your appearance and then your contribution here on this episode and on all of the episodes you have appeared on. Mr. Randy, you're our last panelist. Give us a closing remark, and we will draw the curtain to this episode.
Yeah, and thank you. I'm going to systematically categorize my closing statement here, starting from the promises that Mr. Boakai made. I am a well-measured, calculated person who keep track and train things, and I would just like to give you a few of my account. And for every account that Mr. Boakai made, from one section to another, I will categorize his character. Mr. Boakai came through the election process that he will create 150,000 jobs, 50,000 jobs in 150 days. Where is those jobs? We've seen the total opposite. Mr. Boakai promised that if he became president, each minister would spend 6 months in the county to get to know about the county. He stated that. Mr. Boyka also stated that upon becoming president, people's salary will go up. But we still see many people still crying for the salary. That alone determines whether Mr. Boyka is an honest person or just another person who lied to a Fula businessman and said that the Billy Goat was a different Billy Goat that he earlier brought to the Fula man. That goes to show that Mr. Boyka is a liar. He lies to the Liberian people to become president. Those things he said did not come to pass. We must hold people accountable for what they do. Mr. Boyka also made clear that when he become president, he will be as transparent as he should. Mr. Boyka and Ellen administration for 12 years, Ellen was drawing 72,000 and Boyka was drawing 15,000. That was never declared by President Boyka for that 12 years that he served as vice president. That is another lies that he told to the Liberian people too. We got to be honest there. We got to be honest there. Speaking about salary structure, when Mr. Weah came to office, he came with 13,000 per year. But when he cut down his salary, after he did the first initial and then the second initial, total up to 40% of the 13,000, Mr. Weah was earning 8,000. And guess what? The salary harmonization today, Boyka has also cut his salary from 13,000 to 8,000. He took that from George Weah. That is one of the fair things that Mr. Boyka has done, but not from himself. This old man is one of the incompetent old men that I have ever seen as president. Very, very incompetent. Very, very incompetent. Now, the issue of Mr. Weah dishing money around here, I found that to be very untrue. Every president that comes to office, they have their policy. Policy does not exist forever. Mr. Weah decided to give money to the University of Liberia student as a subsidy. Now he's not in office, it did not hold because that was just a policy. Mr. Weah restructured his houses. People are saying it on the street, but as someone who live in America like you guys, where is the evidence that show that he stole money? Even the United States, even global witness that accuses Ellen and Boyka of massive corruption, they are yet to come up with these kind of findings. So I found that to be totally untrue. Am I here to say Weah was a perfect man? No. But when we come out to make allegation, speculation, that will not slide by me at all. So it's a very, very embarrassing situation. Now, when you come to Mr. Boyka current administration, this old man is so incompetent along with his people. Derek, today marked 228 days of President Boyka in office. Not a single initiative from Boyka himself, not a single strategy, not a single plan, not a single goal on any of his websites that will tell you where President Weah led the educational system. What is the goal between now to 2029 of the Ministry of Health, of the Ministry of Education? Nothing in this country is giving us any direction. If Mr. Boyka, and let's assume that everything from the day Mr. Boyka became president, whatever happened before he became president, Mr. Boyka is yet to set a tune that we will begin to look at what we need to hope for and not to have despair about. This old man has no idea about leadership. He only came to power to secure his health. He only came to power to bring his colleagues to come and rip the country out. He got no plan at all, Derek. I'm telling you, no plan. You see how they just indiscriminately go into places and just taking massive delegation of people with them. You don't do those kind of things as leader. Mr. Boyka is a wasteful spender and not a careful spender. He just go places. I mean, look at that massive bus that he got people on. You know how many each person pay on the buses? The Chinese not going to put him on a free ride. Look at the plane they are taking. This man has not been able to set any stone, any pillow in the ground. Liberians, I think they made a very serious mistake. Even the brother here said he supported Gonglo. I would have rather Gonglo coming in as a new chapter than having Bawka, who considers himself to be an old car. He stated to the Liberian people that he is an old car that was power for 12 years. And then the Liberian people themselves went and grabbed the roadmap, the key, and gave the car to the same old man. Derek, before I end, since January 22nd, 2024, Liberia has been parked, the entire country, not old car now, the entire country has been parked as an old car. Nothing working, nothing moving. That is where we are. We just have to hope for another election to come. But as far as I'm concerned, nothing the old man is doing to change anything in our country. And it's a calamity. Anything Bawka touches, it dies. Bawka worked at LPMC. No record during the campaign to show that he has some deliverable. He was Minister of Agriculture. He did not perform. What happened there? The Agricultural Cooperative Development Bank dies. He became head of the Star Radio under Judy Bryant. That station went down. Amos Sawyer put him there to LPRC. It nearly collapsed. He told Eddie that Eddie signed down for 12 years, which was not true because he was head of the group of 77. And before Eddie called him, he was head of the YMCA. None of those things today Bawka ran on. You listened to Bawka, right, Darren, during the campaign. Did you hear Bawka giving his 42-year experience based on deliverable of places that he works? I leave that one with you. Thank you very much, Darren.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Randy, for your contribution here. And
Randy, you should be back Thursday.
Guys, if you're watching us, that's it for episode 9 of season 6 of the Hard Zone. We will be back here next week, same time, same network. And make sure you're following us. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So with that being said, I would like to bid all of you a pleasant good night. Again, the name is Derek Allen. This is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. So until next Thursday, please have yourself a pleasant good evening.
I love you for you. Don't play me, I can't anybody for you. I mess up my heart to show